Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming here to our session. My name is Sonu Arora. I am product owner of Skype Meeting Broadcast, and I'm here with my colleague, Delanda Coleman, and she's the product marketing manager for same. Today, we're going to go through basics of Skype Meeting Broadcast and cover the roadmap. Now, this is the third consecutive year we're talking about Skype Meeting Broadcast at Ignite. So just by show of hands, how many of you have used Skype Meeting Broadcast in your organizations? So roughly 40% or so. So for those of you who are already using Skype Meeting Broadcast, we expect to answer your questions. And for those of you who are new to Skype Meeting Broadcast, we'll go through many demos to get you started with using this product. So what is Skype Meeting Broadcast? Now, Skype Meeting Broadcast is a feature of Skype for Business Online and Office 365 that can be used to stream meetings for up to 10,000 attendees. It enables high-quality, adaptive video streaming to any device on any major operating system without the need for any plugins or downloads. Now, unlike regular Skype for Business meetings that have two-way interactions, Skype Meeting Broadcasts are one-way video streaming. Now, why do live video? Why do live video streaming? So the answer is digital transformation and fostering connections in the modern workplace. Look, video is taking over the world. Live streaming is all around us. If you have teenagers, you can see them connecting with celebrities through live videos. And with Skype Meeting Broadcast, you'll see there that it's already being used in many modern workplaces, including Microsoft, to empower employees and engage customers. So with Skype Meeting Broadcast, our vision is we want to enable everyone to be more productive and to achieve more. And how do you achieve more? With, for example, CEOs, they can connect with their employees internally. And there is, the live feedback session with them. Anybody else, they can connect with each other or with their customers. So, sorry about that. Let me just. So what does Skype Meeting Broadcast provide? So with Skype Meeting Broadcast, you can actually, we do large-scale broadcasts, any production level. Now, whether that is you're doing a webinar from your laptop or like a high-quality studio setup with multiple event team members. You can engage your audience with built-in intelligence. So there is all of these broadcasts, they're recorded in the cloud. They have live transcription and translation. And there is sentiment analysis from the audience that's available. And there's no learning curve required. The tools that you use, they're existing tools used to create those broadcasts. So let me just walk you through some of the basic building blocks of Skype Meeting Broadcast, especially for those of you who are new to it. So Skype for Business Online, the Skype Meeting Broadcast is an extension of a Skype for Business meeting. It gets hosted in our Office 365 cloud in Skype for Business Online. And there can be multiple sources connected into that meeting. So just like in a meeting, there are participants. So you can have different computers that have different camera sources, different audio feeds, or content connected into it. Now, what gets, all of this does need to get composed and streamed. So who decides what that content is? So there's another client, we call it a producer client. It's the sort of a director of all the streams. So the producer can decide whether it should take content from one machine and the camera source from another machine. So producer does all of that, and once the composition is there, that composition is taken and given to our Windows Azure Media Services. And then through Azure Content Delivery Network, through the Azure CDN, the video gets delivered to the attendees, to the closer nodes that there are, so that they get the good performance. Now, I already mentioned that these broadcasts are one-way streaming. So how, I'm not pushing this. Sorry, so these broadcasts, they are one way. So how do you engage your audience? And we provide that with few extensions. So if you have Yammer, the social network of in the organization, then the choice is easy. You just add Yammer as an extension because you have users there who are communicating with each other. Just add live streaming to that. We also offer Skype Q&A service as part of Skype Meeting Broadcast. It's a moderated Q&A service that can scale to up to 10,000 attendees. So we support the same scale as for the number of attendees. And then there is Microsoft Pulse. With Pulse, you can engage your audience live with polling as well as voting. So all of that sentiment can be then given back, can be calculated and shared by the event team with the broadcastee, and that information can then become really powerful. So now, with Microsoft 365, you'll see that there is a broad range of tools that can be combined in different ways to enable a connected lifecycle that adds value to each phase of the production. So now, when you're planning, instead of just doing monolithic presentations, you already take into account the conversations and the feedback from your employees. So if you already had a Yammer conversation going on, you already know that what your employees are interested in hearing, so you can account that into the agenda when you want to create a new broadcast. When you are producing a broadcast, so there are various ways. I already talked about the various ways. When you're live, you can get direct feedback and engage your audience. Attendees, even if they join late into a broadcast, they can rewind and catch up, so they're not missing anything. And even if you did not get enough audience, during the live event, the session is available on demand so that attendees can catch up to it afterwards. Now, all of this information, currently, it's available in Office 365 video. I'll show you how these videos, they can be loaded in Office 365 video, and we'll be adding support for Microsoft Stream. We'll be adding support for Microsoft Stream into it. And that's backed by intelligent cloud that can then surface the right relevant videos to people in the organization. Going to pass to Delanda.
I'm going to talk a little bit about how we do it at Microsoft, how we use Skype Meeting Broadcast at Microsoft. We use it in a variety of ways. If you think about our executive communications for larger organizations, we use it in that capacity. We use it to directly engage with customers. And then most importantly, we used it to transform our culture. Spearheaded by Satya, we have a monthly Q&A with Satya. We're on the wrong slide. Something's funky with the...
There's something funky going on.
Yeah, sorry about that. There's something going on with the mouse beyond our control. So a few years ago, before Satya joined the company, we used to have a large company meeting at one of the large stadiums in Seattle, Washington. We would fly customers in. employees in to participate in that. And of course, the stadium capacity is a lot smaller than the actual organizational capacity. So then when we transition to Skype Meeting Broadcast, we actually now do a monthly Q&A with the whole goal of doing more engagement with the global audience. I don't know, some guys in the back, we're having problems with the mouse. So if you guys can help us out, that'd be great.
It's auto-advancing all the slides.
So, so that's how we kind of use it. We use it for a broad spectrum of devices. So it's okay, you can go to the next slide. One of the ways is I'm part of, as Sonu mentioned, I'm part of the marketing team, and we have a bi-weekly broadcast series that we now deliver to customers. And so before, when features were shipped with the server, and the server features would come every 2 to 3 years, our marketing moments and communications outbound to customers were all rallied around that. But now that Microsoft has moved to a more agile methodology of developing, and features are shipped directly to the cloud, it's a lot harder for us to engage by waiting for these big moments for our customers. So what we do now is that we use the Skype Meeting Broadcast technology to talk about features and roadmap functionality on a bi-weekly basis. We send meeting invites out to our customers. They can subscribe to it. They can even view the content on demand on YouTube, and it allows us to more directly engage with them. And I'll talk a little bit about the configurations and different setups that we use, from very basic setups. When we started on our lounge with just a laptop and a peripheral device, which I'll talk about a little bit more, to now we use TriCasters, and we use media switching technology and audio medias to have a much better experience for our customers, and I'll talk a little bit about that now. If you're interested in the show, this is how you can access the show. We'll be here at the podcast studio tomorrow and Thursday to go a little bit deeper and to talk about features and functionalities, and you can also tune in bi-weekly on Fridays. I'll give you another example of a customer who uses Skype Meeting Broadcast. This is Jay Johnston and Matthew. They're a science company, and they have 13,000 employees worldwide. They were celebrating their 200-year anniversary, and they wanted a way to engage their employees and their partners, and everyone is a part of that celebration. So they did an around-the-clock broadcast where they did 20 hours of broadcasting, Skype Meeting Broadcast, and they were able to save 50% using 50% of their production costs as a result of that, because they didn't have to fly in special event crews from city to city. Instead, they use Skype Meeting Broadcast. They use a combination of pre-produced content as well as using video equipment locally, and they used iPhones. And so we're gonna show you how to do that in a few minutes. So with that, I'll switch it over back to Sonu to kind of talk about some of the prerequisites that you need to get started from a licensing perspective, and then we're going to start demoing the technology.
Hi. So to get this running, the setup is fairly simple. Skype Meeting Broadcast, it's available for Office 365 online configuration. So if you have Skype Meeting, if you have Skype for Business Online, you're pretty much already set up for that. You can also run this in Skype for Business hybrid configurations, and all you really need is an ADFS account that is set up in the cloud, and you are set up for that. The minimum license that has Skype Meeting Broadcast, it's the Skype for Business Online Plan 2. Right, so that means it's available in Business Premium, it's available in all of the E-SKUs. We also have it in nonprofit, and it's available in the EDU E5 SKUs. So if you have faculty licenses and if faculty want to broadcast their classroom sessions, they can. For client, for the producer client specifically, there's some additional controls that show up in the client. So you need click to run versions of the versions that I've mentioned on the slide here for 2015 and 2016. The MSI version will not work. But for the contributors, so if you got presenters who are just going to be joining into that meeting, they just can use the Skype for Business 2015 or 2016 client. They can also use Skype for Business mobile app, or they could be on Skype for Business for Mac. And for attendees, as I mentioned, we support all various major browser versions that are listed in here. Just use this one. So with that, now I'll just walk you through very quickly how do you administer Skype for Meeting Broadcast. There's not much you have to do. Let's just go and show you that. So what you see here is Skype for Business Admin Center. And in Skype for Business Admin Center, if you go under online meetings, there is broadcast meeting section. And by default, what you have enabled Skype meeting broadcast is enabled for everyone. Now, what does it mean when it's enabled for the users? That means the user will be able to create and produce the broadcasts, right? So this license is needed for, especially if you want to produce it. Now, if you want to limit that only certain people can produce the broadcast, you can actually do that through the policies. And you can set those policies up through PowerShell. So for example, I have this PowerShell instance that's running here, and you can just look at the type of out-of-box policies that are supported for enabling, disabling broadcast. So out-of-box, we got the broadcast meeting policy disabled. So all you have to do is grant CS broadcast policy and to the user, that should have the policy disabled. Now, one of the other things I just want to highlight in here, it's the enable Skype meeting broadcast preview features. So as we add new capabilities, we want to run them through preview. And these preview features, they are deployed in our public GA-ready environments, right? But they're disabled by default. So if you want to test them, this is where you go and enable them so that those features also light up for your users. So let's talk about now how can you create amazing broadcasts. So once your users are enabled for it, typically they're going to go through 3 phases of the broadcast. Planning is one of the first phases. And we're going to spend what I'm going to do, we're going to actually walk you through each one of these phases. So first, I'll walk you through how you will create these broadcasts. Now, typically, when you want to create this broadcast, there's a bunch of prep that needs to happen. As I say, practice makes everything perfect. So, and especially if you're going to go live in front of the people. Now, it all depends on the level of quality that you're trying to achieve. If it's meant to be just engaging, hey, ad hoc, like, without much, makeup and lights and stage, yeah, you can do that, right? So it all depends on what is the effect that you're trying to achieve. If you already have a celebrity status, you don't need much, right? All you need is just your own camera, and then you can go and start broadcasting yourself. But ultimately, for getting started, the main thing is figure out what is it that you're trying to do. Does it really have to be live? Because not everything has to be live. And if it is live, figure out what is the compelling video content that you're going to be sharing, whether it's internally or whether externally with your customers. The other important aspect to highlight is the team. Now, again, if it's a single man, single woman show, yeah, there's not much that's needed there. But when it is, if you're expecting that there will be large crowds, you probably want to set up a team and set up the clear roles and responsibilities. So you want people dedicated to say, okay, who's really running the cameras, and who's doing the Q&A, who's responsible for content. So all of that should be very, very clearly defined. And then you figure out who your guest speakers are so that they exactly know when they're going next. And the rest of the stuff, we'll talk about it as actually we go through our session in terms of the audience engagement, hardware, and bandwidth. So let me just switch over, and I'll show you how to organize a broadcast. So all you need, so once the users have been enabled for the broadcast, all they need to know is that URL, which is broadcast.skype.com. They'll sign on with their Office 365 identity. Now in this case, I am signed on with mine. And you can see I have a few broadcasts that are scheduled in here. I'm going to create a new one. And you can change the title. So this is, we can say it's Broadcast Ignite Demo. You can set up the time. And this is where you'll just specify who the event team members are. So in this case, I'll just put Delanda. And you can add other event team members as well. Now, access and the permissions are important. Do you want this broadcast to be open? Do you want this accessible by everyone outside of your company? Or do you want to lock it up, right? So there are three options that we provide. You can make it public, which is the first option, anonymous. You can make it available for entire company. So if it's a CEO town hall that needs to be broadcasted, you probably want it open for everybody in the company. So now, and if you want to really lock it up even further, you can actually do that with the invitation only. What that means is you can put individual usernames as well as the groups or DLs. So I'm just going to make this anonymous right now. Now, a couple other options. So there is the video recording. The first one, create a video for download. That just means that you want this thing recorded. And during the session, if somebody joins late, they have the DVR-like capability. Now, the second option is whether you want to make it available for on-demand. What that means is the same URL that was used to join this broadcast. If once the broadcast is done, once it's ended, they can use the same URL to watch it on demand. Now, some people may not want that, and you can actually turn that off. And one of the other capabilities is real-time transcription and translation. So we provide this real-time transcription and translation capability using our Microsoft Speech Services and Translator engine. Currently, this is in public preview. So the features that I showed you to turn the tech preview features on, you'll have to enable that in order for organizers to be able to see this option show up in here. So now once it's here, I'm going to go and set up transcription and translation as well. So currently, Skype Meeting Broadcast supports 8 spoken languages. We're going to be adding couple more that are now supported by speech services, so that besides the ones that are listed in here, it'll be Arabic and Japanese. And it can be translated, the broadcast be translated into over 60 languages. So there's quite a few languages that can be translated into. However, when you are setting up your broadcast, for attendees, we only give them, there's a choice. Currently, there's a limit that they can only have 6 languages show up. So we don't surface all the 60 languages in the attendee view. So in this case, I'll go and pick the 6 languages maximum that I want. And the Klingon, okay. So you have selected the maximum number of supported languages. So now this broadcast is set up. Right, so now this is the join link. So once the broadcast is set up, all you need is a Skype for Business client and that join link to just join that meeting and start the broadcast. So now, as you saw from my portal, I already have actually a broadcast created. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually do a little broadcast live in the room. So I'm going to actually engage with you guys. So I invite you to actually come and visit this URL that's listed here, aka.ms BRK2025. So go on your devices and just get ready, have a look at that. And I just want to show you, I want to go back in the portal and just show you what are the different engagement options available so that you can also see how it looks like on your own device. Can everybody get to that URL? I just want to know if you're able to. Okay, awesome. So now going back here, so as you know, I created this broadcast. Sorry, yes. Okay, I'll just leave it there for a second. Okay, I'm going to switch over now. Okay, so if you remember, I just created this broadcast. Now, when I created this broadcast by default, it's just about the video streaming. It doesn't have any engagement mechanism. So now I'm going to go and configure those. And to do that, what you do is you just go and customize. And I can choose, what my view needs to look like. Do I want to add something on the right or left or at the bottom? So I do right panel app, and I'm going to just select the Q&A by default here. So now this broadcast will have Q&A configured on the right. And the other thing that we can do is in the lower app, and I'm going to show you a little bit about that, is Pulse. So you can add Pulse into it. Now, when you add Pulse, all you do is you select Pulse, and here is the URL that's available in the portal for Pulse. Now, if you already use Pulse, then you can just log into Pulse with your existing account. If you are not an existing account holder, you will have to go and sign up separately for the Pulse account. And I'll show you how to do that. So I'm just going to log into Pulse with my account. And remember, there are a couple of things that need to be set up. It's really, once you're in a Pulse, you just need your Pulse account and your Pulse ID. So in my case, when I go to Pulse, I'll just select one of the Pulses that I already have created. So if you see the URL here on the left, the one that I'm highlighting, it's the Sonu A, it's my account, it's my Pulse account, and then the ID of this particular Pulse is whatever name you give it. So it's really up to you. When you create a new event, you can give it any friendly name. And that's the one, so what you need to do is you just take that and you just go and set that up in here. And that's it. So this is now, the pulse is set up. Okay, so now, I just walk you through like one way of engaging. This is sort of the admin view of the pulse. For those of you who are not connected to the attendee view on the device, let me just walk you through what the other people are seeing on their devices. So I'm just going to copy this URL, and I'm going to go to a browser in here. Now, this page shows up for me because it recognizes that I'm also an event team member. For those of you, who are just external, and because it's anonymous access, you should just go directly. You shouldn't have to select, to be an event team member. So I am just going to join the event right now as a guest. And you see, this is basically so what we're doing is, before you actually walked in, we already had started a broadcast. And if I just go back to the beginning, you'll actually see, as people, were walking in, right? And then there is some other stuff that's going on, and that's the next step. I'll actually walk you through actually what's going on behind the production, behind it.
So one of the things, I'll just add one thing, what you're seeing right now. The live broadcast, we set up a peripheral device connected to her hardware, and we were just broadcasting live, everyone walking into the room. And then we have some folks back in Redmond who are using the producer controls to switch the content. So some parts you'll see Satya talking, so that was to my earlier point where you can actually stream pre-produced video content if you like. And then you also see someone switching a PowerPoint presentation, so you can see each different phases of the presentation. And one of the cool things about Skype Meeting Broadcast is, how many of you have joined a broadcast and you started like 10 minutes late? You've already missed 10 minutes of the conversation. Through the attendee view, you can actually scroll back and see the content from the moment it started live, as opposed to watching it only live. And then, if the user chooses, then they can switch and go to the live view. We do have the Q&A manager going.
Yeah, so let me just talk a little bit more about this now. So I just showed you one way of engaging is through Pulse. Now, I'm going to go back to Pulse after this, but first, for the Q&A manager, what I did was, once you have organized your broadcast, you can go and open up the broadcast, like by pressing Open Q&A. So it's not open by default. You have to go in and do that. So you can choose when you want to open that. And once it's open, now I am one of the moderators, so I can actually add any sort of message to the attendees. Now you see that I'm getting a lot of chatter in here, right? So this is dangerous. But believe me, all the attendees are not seeing that right now, right? Because I'm moderating it. I'm not going to send this out. I will choose a good question, and I will choose that good question to broadcast. So I'm not going to, so if somebody asks a good question, I will broadcast that one. You see here, this is interesting.
One of the questions is their bandwidth requirements. So we're going to talk about a little bit some of the bandwidth implications if you have a lot of employees. We have two partners, Hive and Collective, that actually help with some of this. So we can just skip that. So a lot of questions. People need beer, so we have some at the booth. So come over at our community takeover, and we can supply those needs.
Now, for the Pulse, now let's switch over to another way of engaging, right? So now this one, for the Pulse, I had set up a Pulse. And when you set up a Pulse, let me just quickly actually show you what that Pulse actually looks like. Let me just go back there. So this particular pulse, I'm going to activate the voting now. So currently you're not able to vote. So once you actually go to the attendee view, you'll see that once I set this up, you'll be able to do that. Currently, the way I've set up the question is just one question in there, and it's about weather. So once I activate the voting, you see, I'm going to just confirm that. Now, if you start voting live with the pulse, and I'm going to just go in here and show you what that looks like. You see here? So the weather in Orlando is fantastic. So if you actually vote, you will see live results actually get shown here. And the same results are available for your broadcastee after the event. Okay, so you can already see the trend that's going on there. Okay, I'm going to switch over. Sorry.
So the question was, how do we stream a live video?
Yeah,
Give us 2 minutes and we'll walk through that
as well. Yeah. So let me just recap what you saw. So I showed you how to organize a broadcast and how to customize an existing broadcast to add additional engagement mechanisms. I showed the Q&A as well as Pulse. Now, how do you go about producing these broadcasts? So let's actually show that. So this particular broadcast, Delana already alluded to that. So the way it is set up, we got this broadcast set up. We got colleagues back in Redmond. So somebody asked a question, how do you actually stream like a live video? So we have a device. It's an HDMI capture device that is connected to Santosh's machine, and that's actually broadcasting Satya's keynote from yesterday. So that's already in the broadcast. So for those of you who are connected in the attendee view, if you rewind, you'll probably see some of that feed because we have been switching through that. Now, one of the things I'm going to show you is just calling.
Maybe not.
Yeah, I think we're going to switch over. But what I was going to show you was I was going to actually call Delanda, and Delanda from her mobile phone now could actually join and also broadcast that. So, but we're going to skip that. It does work. It's pretty cool. All right, so now I'm already in SFB client. So the URL, the same URL that was used for attendees, if I join as an event team member, now you can join as a producer. So I am joined as a producer in here. And currently it is being, right? So currently it is being produced. And the session is live. Currently the active source is this. I can switch over that active source to something else. So now I can make that Satya's broadcast that's already being shown, and now this will become the active source into the broadcast, and this should be showing in your device. Now, we do have a latency of about 40 seconds from the time I actually do select the active source in here to the time it actually shows up on your device. But right now it is playing. So if I was to switch over to the attendee view, that's what that should show if I go live. And you can see that's what's playing. Okay. The other thing I quickly want to show you is there's a few ways you can configure your sources. So if you actually wanted like a video and content, so then you can have the view on the attendee side will be video, and the content in this case, because it's PowerPoint sharing, so you can have the video going on one side and PowerPoint on the other, or you can just choose to broadcast content only. So that's basically it, to start broadcasting. Now, you want to end the broadcast? Yeah, just click on this Stop Broadcast button. Right? Now, if you do want to leave it, and if I do leave, it's fine. The broadcast will still go on because I have my co-producer back in Redmond who's still producing it, so it's not going to end it. Okay. All right.
All right, so let me go over to answer your question about how do you broadcast. Let's start with the basics. How many of you have an Office 365 license? Okay, almost 90% of the room. So you guys can start broadcasting today, right now. If you can open your laptop, that's all you need to start. That's the basic requirements, a laptop with a video and audio capabilities, and you can load it up right now and go to broadcast.skype.com and start broadcasting today, and that's all you really need. You can then... Yes, so an extended view, if you want, can you go to the next slide, please? So in the next slide, you typically have an extended view. So if you want to be able to have audio, more advanced capabilities like audio or video, you can connect those externally, and then you can use an HDMI capture device. So we don't allow the capability today natively to do desktop sharing like Skype for Business client does into a Skype meeting broadcast, and so we use an HDMI capture device. I actually have one right here. This is called a Magewell, and so you can use the Magewell in order to share what the content that you're using on your desktop, or you can actually use Windows Media Player to then play a pre-recorded content and then have that streamed, and it'll capture both the audio and the video and send it to Skype for Meeting Broadcast. So the question is, so can we show a YouTube video and then capture with the HDMI? Correct, yes you can. What we recommend is that you download the video and you have like a local copy and you stream the copy from the desktop, and then that, either scenario will work, but the best practice is the latter.
Okay, and we will be around afterwards. If you have any specific questions, please come see us, and come see us at the booth as well, and we'll be happy to answer any questions.
Now, if you want to do a more complicated presentation, for example, if you want to have different video angles, so you want to have two cameras, external cameras that are more higher quality, and then you can capture different devices, what we recommend is that you have two different machines with those video capture devices, and then in the producer control, then you can switch the angles of the video and what content that you want to show. The second piece that I want to talk about is the studio grade quality. Do any of you in the room have an existing studio set up at your corporation? Okay, so maybe like 10, 20% of you. The good thing about this is because that you already have an Office 365 license, you can automatically connect sort of your audio mixers and your video media switchers directly as inputs into a Skype meeting broadcast, so then they could be treated as video inputs. So if you have multiple audio setups, and then you also have multiple video sources, you can feed those all in from your studio and then send it as a broadcast stream to Skype Meeting Broadcast. That's exactly how Satya does it. So we have, for his video, monthly video broadcast, obviously we have a production team. They set up a space called the Video Village, where we're taking 3 camera inputs and up to 12 audio inputs, and then we're sending that video feed directly to Skype Meeting Broadcast. The last scenario that I want to call out is when you're doing in-room presentations that are also streamed live. There's a couple considerations that you need to be mindful of. The first is noise suppression. So because I'm wearing a mic, people are clapping because this presentation was awesome. But we don't want the folks who are getting streamed that content to hear that. So you can do noise suppression. There is a wrench key that you'll have to set up on the machine that will automatically compensate for the noise in the background, and that can be turned on. The second is because of the time delay, you want to make sure that Because of the time delay, you want to make sure that what's being streaming to the remote attendees is not actually being presented on stage. And so you can use the Skype for Business client to display in the room, but what gets fed to the remote participants is actually the time delay stream, so some considerations there. And the last thing is echo in the room. And so again, really testing muting and unmuting when things are going on live. So those are a couple of different things that you can do in order to either maximize your investment, whether it be just a PC or it's all the way to a studio grade quality, or if it's in a live auditorium.
Okay. So now the last phase is the reports. Basically, once the broadcast ends, you just go back to the organizer portal. You got the reports available for Q&A. You got the reports for transcript. You got the reports for attendees, right? So all of that, along with the pulse analysis, you can use that. So I'm just going to just quickly touch base on sort of what's next. That sort of is my last slide around the Skype Meeting Broadcast. So we are working on providing now integrated experiences in Microsoft 365. It's going to be backed by modern and enterprise-grade Skype infrastructure in Microsoft Teams. So what that means, you're going to have scheduling experience, production experience, attendee experience in Teams supported. And of course, that doesn't mean you cannot just join from any devices. So this is an addition for your attendees to join seamlessly from any other devices. I already talked about Office 365 transitioning over to Microsoft Stream. So you got your live videos as well as your on-demand videos all in a central repository within the enterprise backed by an intelligent cloud. So to summarize, use Skype Meeting Broadcast to empower your employees and engage with the customers. So I covered how you can deliver large-scale broadcast any production level, engage your audience with built-in intelligence, and just use the tools that are familiar to the users, whether that's today through Skype for Business client, tomorrow through Teams. That's it. If you want to learn more, there's a few other related sessions. So you can check out the ones that are listed in here around the Yammer. There is also a session on Stream that talks about the collaboration live as well as on demand. And then if you want to understand more about meetings, go check out meetings in Microsoft Teams.
The last thing that I want to talk about is Teams on Air. Again, we use Skype Meeting Broadcast technology to do that. And bi-weekly, we talk about feature updates and roadmap updates on Teams and Skype for Business. So if you want to join us, we're bi-weekly on Fridays. And on the October 27th episode, we'll actually be doing a behind the scenes with Skype Meeting Broadcast. So we'll show you how we do Satya's Q&A, and then we'll actually be in our studio, Microsoft Studios, where we'll kind of show you a little bit more about how to produce high-end Skype Meeting Broadcasts and what kind of guidance that we give our employees so that they can host their own. Thank you.